Thank you, and hello to everyone around the world. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Warby. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management. I've been with Exabeam for 3 years. And I want to follow up on some of the things that Adam talked about. He mentioned that we launched this new platform less than a year ago. We have hundreds of customers using it, providing feedback, and we've already released those 400 plus features. And we took that feedback to heart and were able to already make a lot of new changes and innovations. So I'm going to talk today about some of the recent innovations that you may not be aware of, as well as what's coming very soon. So when we develop the platform and when we design new products and new features, we're always thinking about the people using the product, using the service. So some of the common personas that we're going to talk about today and the features you're going to see are targeted for the security engineer, the security analyst, and the threat hunter. We work very hard to understand what are their day-to-day challenges and how can we solve them and help the CISOs who are running these SOCs be more effective and really solve the problems that they're facing every day. So we have these 3 pillars: the cloud scale security, log management, and SIEM, our powerful behavior analytics, and our automated TDIR. Those are running on the security operations platform that we built. So I'm going to talk today about the first pillar and the platform. I'm going to start with the platform. So when we built our platform, we focused on these 6 key areas. We want to make sure that you're getting notifications about new notables, anything going on with your consumption. Maybe there's a configuration that needs attention. We're also working on our multi-org strategy for enterprises and service providers that have multiple organizations under a single level of management. We have a new API platform that I'll talk about. Lots of endpoints have already been added, with more coming. We have a health and consumption app where you can quickly see what needs attention, how is your consumption against your license, what does your growth look like. We focused a lot on the user experience, making sure that it's easy to go through the workflows that you go through day to day. And of course, identity access management, making sure we have the right controls. So the examples I'm going to show today are going to be highlighting the first 3, including some demos. So in the area of notifications, we launched a new platform just for a few months ago, actually, earlier this year. And we wanted to make sure that that all of the notifications that you need to get are configured in one place, where you can choose who gets the notification, what they're being notified about, and how they're being notified. And we really focused on making it clear, actionable, and focused. And this launched today, or recently, rather, with in-app notifications and email notifications. And coming soon, we're going to be adding webhooks, Teams, and Slack notifications as well. Again, all centrally managed. One of the first use cases, the first use case of this notification platform, was one of the hackathon projects that Adam talked about. So one of the teams looked at the data, and they were thinking about this challenge that customers have with silent log failures. So they have a log source sitting behind a collector, and it stops sending data. And since we're not managing the log source, we don't have telemetry on the log source, but we are seeing how the data is coming in. And so the engineers looked at this, and they said, hey, we're running on the Google Cloud platform. We're using BigQuery. BigQuery has machine language built into it, the capability. And so they actually developed a project, and they showed with very good accuracy, within a few percent, they can predict the future volume of a collector. And then what we could do is create notifications using this new platform that says, hey, this collector, the volume has dropped, in this case 69%. That could be normal. Maybe it was an expected config change, or it could be an indication that a log source behind that collector has stopped sending data. And if that's critical data, it needs attention. So we can now send this message to your users, and you can go look and say, hey, I expected that, I'm going to dismiss it, or yeah, there's something wrong there. I'm very proud to say that that project from this summer just launched a few weeks ago. So this is available now. We've already had great feedback, and it's helping customers get more visibility about something we don't even manage. But because we have the data, we're running on cloud native, we could leverage the machine learning, and we can help them solve this challenge. So another thing we're working on is a multi-org strategy. When we look at multi-org, we see it coming into two primary license models. So on the left, we have the organizations where they have lots of orgs within the enterprise or the service provider, and they're under a single license. Typically, they're under a single regulatory environment. Maybe they're all within a single region, but they need a way to manage all those organizations centrally. The other model on the right is when you have multiple organizations, each with a different license because they have different regulatory requirements, for example. So it could be large enterprises with M&As, it could be service providers. But in both cases, there needs to be a management platform that lets them do their job across all of those organizations. And so this is a strategy we're working on, and I'll be able to show you what that's going to look like in a demo. And the last thing I want to talk about in this section is our API platform. This launched earlier this year. Every time I show the demo, people get really excited. I think not enough people are aware of it, so I'm going to demo it and show you the power of it. It's really all about helping customers automate, integrate with custom integrations where maybe they have some special data source they want to bring in or context. And we have this great developer portal that you may not have seen before. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. It makes it much easier for you to learn and use our API. So I'm going to switch now to the demo. Awesome. Okay. So this is our multi-org environment. So this is going to be a new landing page where when the enterprise or the service provider comes into the environment, they can see all of their organizations down below that are under management with a common view. We can see on the left how many are healthy. There's one that needs attention. So we're calling out at a top level where the security engineer needs to start their day when they're working on and troubleshooting. We also have a consumption summary where you can see on a given day what was the consumption across all of those organizations. And in this case down here, Dunder Mifflin has a few alerts and some cases. So as a security engineer or as the analyst, that's where I'm going to start. It's clear to me where to start. I don't have to log in individually and figure out what's the most important. So I'm going to click into here. I'm now in this org's instance. So this is what it looks like today, but I knew where to start. And I can go, in this case, I'm going to go to Alert and Case Manager, and I can see clearly there's some critical notables. I know as an analyst or an engineer where to start. I can navigate up all the way back if I need to, and there's also a drop down here where I can go and quickly switch to another environment like Hooli, do my work. So it's just a nice way to manage it at a top level. We're also going to be working on an API strategy that also is multi-org aware and helps you be more effective at scale. So that's the multi-org demo. Related to large organizations, APIs comes up a lot, so we're going to look at that next. And in this demo environment, I am going to show you first where the API keys are generated. So we can see all the keys here that are shown. The nice thing is we have the name that we gave it when we created it. We have the key and the secret key. The secret key isn't shown in the UI, but you can copy it. It's shown initially when you create it. I know who created it. I know when they created it. I know when they last used it. So this is an important part of API hygiene. You don't want old keys that are sitting around unused. So I might go talk to Seth and say, hey, this thing has been sitting for 3 months. Do you really need it? If you don't, go clean it up. Seth is here, so I'm picking on him. When I create a new key, I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to give it a permission. I'm going to make sure that the scope is as minimal as needed to do the work. So I already have a key here that I'm going to use. And I've set it up to do search. So back to the slides. Okay, so we talked about the platform. We're going to talk about the first pillar now, which is the cloud scale security log management and SIEM. So all of the logs that come in for security log management and for SIEM are sitting on our data platform. And when we built this platform and we enhanced this platform, we're focusing on these 4 areas. We want to make sure it's easy to collect. Like in the video you saw, they talked about how much faster they can onboard data. So we want to continue to improve on that, offer more out-of-the-box, simple-to-use collection. Ingestion is all about making sure we're parsing and understanding that data and you're getting the full value out of it. Normalization, are we mapping those fields to the common information model for use in other applications? And then can you search it and can you visualize it? These are the areas that we focus on our data platform. For collection specifically, we want it to be simple. It's got to be fully scalable, highly available, and easy to troubleshoot, especially when you're onboarding. There's some config steps. You want to make sure you get those correct. Because, again, we're running on this cloud-native services on the Google Cloud Platform, we're able to innovate very fast. So coming soon, we're going to be adding 30 new cloud collectors and 8 new site collectors. Again, this is only possible, this rate of innovation is because of the platform that we've built. In the area of ingestion, we're going to be adding the capability to have a lot more control about where your data goes once we've ingested it. So you have your production instance, but you might want to send a subset of that data to a test instance where you're running early access features. You might also have a subset of that data that's high value. You need to keep it around longer, so you're going to send it to long-term storage, even supporting third-party applications. So this lets you meet your data compliance and having full control of what data goes where. Related to that is our selective log retention. So in this feature that's coming soon, you'll be able to define different categories of data, high, medium, low value. High value data needs to be around for a very long time. Low value data, you keep it around maybe for a month, and you get it out of the system so you're not paying for it. So you have requirements, probably different regulations and compliance. You're going to have full flexibility where you can write filter, search filter type rules, decide what goes where, and then you control how long it's retained. So now you meet all your regular regulation requirements while also optimizing your costs. We're adding some new advanced search features for your power users. It needs to be simple, but it also needs to be powerful and flexible. And so the new search functions are going to have all these capabilities. And as an example of what that looks like, if I'm a threat hunter and I'm in the system and I want to look for examples of a phishing attempt, it's pretty easy to find that. And I can also look for examples of malware. But what I want to know in this case is, what's an example of a phishing attack that resulted in the installation of malware? And so with this example, it's a lot of text, but basically what this is saying is, from proof point, I can see the phishing attempts, I can create a subset of data, and then I can scan that data for any users and hosts where malware was installed after the phishing attack took place. So with this more interesting advanced search, I can actually demonstrate whether or not I actually have a successful phishing attack. So it's a very interesting use case. There's one of many that we'll be able to do with these new features. So I talked earlier about the feature we just released where we can see if a log collector has a different volume than what we predicted, what the machine language predicted. There is kind of a corner case where you might have a site collector with multiple data sources behind it, and one of those could be very high value, but it might be very low volume. So if it fails, it might not be enough to trigger that feature. So we can catch most of them, but we're going to take it a step further. Because we're parsing the data and we know what all the products and vendors are, we actually have visibility all the way to a log source level in the system. So we're going to be using that same machine learning to now have per log source visibility, and even a very low volume, high value log source, if it stops sending, we'll be able to send you alerts, again using this new notifications platform. So I'm going to show you this in my final demo. We'll let this load. Okay, so in this environment, I'm going to go to the Service Health and Consumption app, and in this example, I have a little bit of a warning on collection. And specifically, there's this yellow bar recently, so I'm going to investigate what's happening here. And so I have my existing Cloud Collector and Site Collector summaries down below, but I have this new log sources view. And I could see that of all the log sources I have, there are some that have gone silent. And you can configure what that means, how long it might have needed to trigger that threshold. I can go into the log source details. And what I've done now is I've taken the user directly to the portion of the Site Collector page that they need to do their work. Again, we're running on one platform. We don't have to have users go back to a main page or switch tabs. We're going to guide them exactly where they need to go. So normally if I come into the Site Collector tab, I'm going to see the overview, but it took me directly to log sources, which is where I needed to go. And I can see again that there's some that are silent. I can see the trend over time, and specifically now, what are those most recent ones that I need to pay attention to? I can see down here which ones they are. I can do view details, see a chart of just that collector over time and the fact that it hasn't been chatting for a while. Last seen 4 hours ago. Maybe I expect traffic from this every 5, 10 minutes or hour, but it's been 4 hours. That's a problem. I can also change the setting of how to be alerted. How much does it need to go up or down, and for how long? And I also have the alert here. So if I'm anywhere in the platform and I didn't start on that page, I do have an alert that tells me, hey, something's going on, specifically with your log sources. You need to look into this. So that's what will be coming soon to give you even more power over making sure that your data is healthy and coming in as expected. So my last slide before I pass it off, I just wanted you to take away from this first section of the product message. Basically, again, we're taking a persona-focused strategy. We want to make sure we're solving real problems for real users of the platform. We're doing cloud native, so we get to adopt all the latest innovation around AI and machine learning really quickly. We don't have to develop it ourselves. We just partner and we move quickly. We're giving a lot more flexibility about what you do with the traffic once it comes in. Where is it stored? How long is it stored? You optimize your costs, but still meet your requirements. And again, these advanced search capabilities give you a lot more power to go in and do your threat hunting and investigation and find some very interesting use cases. So that's my section. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Exabeam's VP Product Management, Andy Scree.
Wow, it's great to be here, and it's amazing to see everything we've already delivered and what's coming across cloud security log management and SIEM and the data platform. So this is Exabeam's 6th Spotlight. It's my 6th time presenting at Spotlight, and I have to say I think this year I'm the most excited about the content. With our new cloud scale pace of innovation, I get to talk to you about something I'm really passionate about, which is threat detection, investigation, and response, or TDIR, and where we're going with this new platform. So we're going to focus on these last two pillars, the powerful behavior analytics and the automated TDIR experience. We've worked hard to deliver new value to our customers across these two pillars, leveraging the capabilities of the New-Scale platform. Things like bringing LogStream into the mix so we can get a better understanding of how the data is set up for good analytics. We introduced anomaly search to give our customers new ways to threat hunt off of the data coming from analytics. We recently introduced the ability to give our customers 7 days of full search within the security investigation package. We've enhanced our correlation experience to deliver more complex correlation rules through rule chaining, all the way through the reports and the outcomes that we're able to surface through Outcomes Navigator. So we've been continuing to deliver value across these two pillars in our hybrid platform environment. But today I get to officially announce what's coming with our New-Scale TDIR, a fully built New-Scale experience on the new platform with end-to-end integrations to drive more outcomes more quickly. So when we looked at what do we want to do with New-Scale TDIR, we had 4 key areas of focus and capabilities we want to deliver. First is we want to deliver high-fidelity threat detections. We want to be able to detect and prioritize threats that others cannot. We want to focus on that investigation experience, building streamlined and dedicated tools with clear starting points for our different personas. We want to empower the engineers, right? We want to make sure that that key persona of those security engineers have more capability to configure, maintain, and manage the platform, as well as build new capabilities, new anomaly detections, more automation content in the platform. We also want to continue to look at where we can use AI to enhance everything from threat detection all the way through response. So how are we going to deliver on these capabilities? Well, we have many different components that we're building and working on. And one of the things we got to do is take a look at all of our existing TDIR applications, our advanced analytics, case manager, incident responder, and alert triage. We got to think, where should these core features exist now in our new platform? We wanted to really look at how do we reduce friction, how do we reduce overlapping workflows and configuration. And one of the main drivers is how do we make sure we deliver the same view of a piece of data in every application experience in the platform. A great example starts in enrichment, host IP mapping. This is a foundational piece of tech that drives our advanced analytics. But today, only the data processed by advanced analytics gets dynamic host to IP mapping. So we decided we're going to move all enrichment into the log stream pipeline. That means we can do host to IP mapping on every single event that we receive into our product. And we can make sure that that enriched data is available for search, reporting, dashboarding, correlation, analytics, and investigation and response. Furthermore, AA does a great job of reconciling different credentials to a single user. We're going to take this concept and superpower it. We're going to be building our entity manager application, which is going to allow us to identify entities through log data, correlate that with context, and automatically link multiple credentials to a single entity. We're busy working on net new detection and linking algorithms to surface up these high-fidelity detections with a brand new detection manager, so a single place to create, test, tune, and deploy content. On the automation side, we're busy at work with our new platform-level automation service. This will replace our SOAR capability. SOAR for a lot of customers is kind of last mile. It's that last bit of remediation or action on an alert or case. We're building an automation platform that's going to allow our security engineers to automate any workflow across the platform. Our two first big use cases that I'm going to demo in a little bit are going to be our basic detection grouping rules and our automated triage rules, which is one of the #1 requested features for our alert triage application. And then lastly, on the investigation response, we're very busy continuing to enhance our alert and case management application with pre-built investigation tools like our threat timeline, our threat graph, and our generative AI threat explainer. All of these features together are going to make up our New-Scale TDIR experience. However, because we're looking at releasing some of these in the platform as soon as they're available, things like enrichment and entity manager, because we're able to break these up across the platform, we can deliver these components individually before we have our full New-Scale TDIR experience out. Now, the investigation experience has always been one of the things that's driven our customer adoption and the reason to purchase Exabeam. And we want to continue to make sure we have strong investigation experiences. You might remember this slide from last year's Spotlight. This is all about how we want to make sure we have clear starting points for that security analyst, regardless of where alerts come from. We want to deliver more consistent workflows and provide that common investigation experience. So, as I mentioned before, we don't want to hold back features. We want to give them to our customers as soon as they're available. So we have a lot of these investigation capabilities today. So what we want to do, and what we're going to be delivering very soon, is the ability to take the output of advanced analytics and start to get our customers using our brand new New-Scale investigation and response capabilities. So what I want to do next is I'm going to show a demo of what this is going to look like, being able to take the detections from advanced analytics, but leverage our whole New-Scale investigation experience. All right, so we're here in the navigation center. And you're going to notice, first and foremost, a slightly different light mode. This is something we're playing around with a little more contrast, a little more gray, instead of all of that white. So one of the challenges I know customers have had in adopting our existing TDIR applications is, where do I start? Do I start with alert triage and my third-party alerts? Do I start in case manager or within AA? So as I mentioned, we want to streamline this approach. So all analysts are going to start within our new alert and case management application. So I'm going to drill in here. The first thing I'm going to see is I'm going to see the cases. These are the things that absolutely need to be investigated. Every detection that comes into Alert and Case Manager starts out as an alert. Alerts can either be manually triaged and escalated or automatically triaged and escalated through our triage rules. So we're going to bring in AA's capabilities here. You're going to see we have all of these cases, the relevant risk scores, metadata about what I'm going to expect to see in this particular case. We're also going to notice this column of grouped by. So using our new automation platform, we're building out the capability to define detection grouping rules. We're taking this paradigm that existed in AA for a number of years, but AA groups by a user or a source host in 24 hours. We want to take this and really enhance it. So now we have the capability of not just grouping by a user or a destination host. We can also group based on IP addresses. We can group based on particular detections or threats. So in the case of a phishing incident, I want to group on the sender address, not every user who received that particular email. Furthermore, we're able to do grouping not just in a 24-hour bounds, but up to 72 hours. And customers will have full control over creating their own grouping detections and their own grouping rules. So this gives our customers a lot more power to figure out how do I want to group my detections together in a way that's meaningful to me. Now, the other big challenge we wanted to solve with advanced analytics is today, we don't create cases for non-notables. If a user doesn't reach 90 points of risk, you don't see that in our case manager. Moving forward, you will. Every single risk point a user adds creates an alert. So if you have a user with a timeline of 1 risk point, they're going to end up here as an alert within ACM. So you'll have full visibility of all of the risks that's added across the advanced analytics platform. Again, with those detection or those triage rules, we'll also give customers the ability to say, hey, here's a brute force detection. What if someone's trying to brute force my CEO? It only reached 70 points of risk. I could now write a new triage rule that says anything above 50 points where my executives are present, automatically escalate that to a case. So we're really giving the power to our customers to be able to configure what shows up in the top of the case queue through triage rules. No longer do you have to manage and maintain individual risk scores to try to hit that 90-point threshold. You're going to be able to all manage this within the alert and case management experience. So let's now investigate a notable user, Frederick Weber. So I'm going to open up Frederick Weber. We're going to see on the left-hand side some basic statistics about this particular case. I can go ahead and I can click on Frederick Weber, this entity. I can get all the context about Frederick. I can see his live insights. So again, everything in our alert and case manager is a living object. So I can see these live insights. He's currently connected to the VPN and being investigated. I can see all of the static context I can get from our identity provider. And I can see all the credentials that have already been linked through Entity Manager. If I want to know more about his behavior in the past, I can click on his behavior insights, and we'll take you directly to Advanced Analytics in his user insight page to get more information about who he is and what he's been up to. Now, when it comes to investigating this particular threat, I can start with my threat timeline. This is a feature that we just released in August and are going to continue to enhance. The idea behind the threat timeline is this is the truncated view of all of the detections that we've seen this user trigger. We can get basic information about the risk score, the events that were used to detect this. We're also now linking every single event to the detection. So I can see this was only one event, this Windows executable. If there were 100 events that we evaluated because of a correlation rule, we would show all 100 events here right in the threat timeline with the ability to pivot to search. If I want to investigate with my common AA experience and see the full timeline experience, I can certainly do that as well. I can pivot and jump directly into that full AA investigation timeline. Now, as I continue to scroll here, you're going to notice that right after that first detection in our threat timeline, we're also showing you we created an alert. Right? So every single individual detection that's not already grouped is going to create its own alert. As we continue to see more detections come in and more risk being added to this particular user timeline, you'll notice as soon as he reaches that 90-point threshold, just like we have today, we have a triage rule that's set up out of the box to automatically escalate this to a case. So we can give you that same experience from the analytics. If we continue to scroll all the way to the bottom here, I'm going to go ahead and open up this last particular event. I can see this is a Vectra alert. So what if I want to continue my investigation, but instead of just looking at the timeline, I want to dig further. I want to search. I want to get more information about what's going on. I can first click and view the raw log here, so I can see the full raw log experience and all of the extracted fields. And I can quickly pivot back into my search experience with one click. So now I'm looking at that exact same alert that I just saw in the threat timeline. Let's take a look at the details here. So I can quickly see here as I look through all of the parsed fields, I can see that I don't have my MD5 hash extracted, but I can see it in the event. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to my EQL version. I'm going to clear this. So as Warby mentioned, we're enhancing our search capabilities with things like regex extraction at search. This is going to give our customers the ability to get the best of both worlds, parsing on ingest for the speed of search and setting up data for analytics, but also the ability to parse at search time for those fields you didn't know you needed when you onboarded a log, but you absolutely need right now during an investigation without needing to reparse. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pop my complex query in here, which is basically selecting my processes, it's extracting my MD5 hash, and then it's going to output this into a pipe search so that I can visualize this in a table. I don't want a bunch of raw logs that I have to go through and scan with my eyes and look for this information. I just want to get a quick view of what are the processes, what are the hashes, and how many times have I seen this. So I go ahead and I can run my search, and boom, I can see right away a few processes I'm used to seeing. We know my vector alert happened for a.exe, but I also have this new process that I wasn't expecting to see. So I can get that information very quickly, pivot back into my alert and case manager, go to my notes. I'm going to go ahead and add another note here that we have another process I need to investigate, save that off, and I may want to notify my team via Slack that I might need some help with this investigation. So again, using our new automation platform, I'm going to send this to a webhook, add it to Slack, and send that off to my team. So you can see here, this is part of that new investigation experience, a much more tightly integrated experience focused in ACM, bringing a lot of the tools that you would normally have to pivot to multiple different tabs and pages all in one place to really streamline that investigation process. So as we're building our New-Scale TDI experiences, we're always looking for where we can leverage AI to bring more value and streamline workflows. As you saw from Adam, this has been an area we pioneered for a number of years since the very beginning. And even more recently, where we talked about the new AI features that we're delivering as part of that hackathon. So as we continue to look at where we should be leveraging AI, we kind of have 4 principles that we keep looking at. First is, we want to make sure that our AI is grounded. We want to blend the knowledge of external insights from large language models with the ground source of truth of log and context data and the insights we're able to provide and glean in individual customer environments and make that transparent. We want to make sure that it's security aware, so we're both partnering and building. So with our partnership with Google, we're actually one of the very few vendors that have access to their security-specific LLM, SecPalm. We're also looking at how can we train our LLMs with the information that we have and some of the proprietary data we have as Exabeam. We want to make sure that our AI is effective, right? We look at a persona-based approach. We want to make sure that the AI we build is tailored to a particular persona and their point of view. I'm going to give an example in a little bit of our threat explainer, which is geared toward the security analyst. As a security analyst, when I want an explanation of a threat, I want the nitty-gritty details. I want to know what should I do next. But if I'm a SOC manager at CISO and I have to go tell the board about a threat, that's not the information I want. So we need to make sure that our AI is persona aware. We also want to make sure it's embedded. We don't just want some bot off in the corner that you can ask a bunch of questions to. We want this embedded into the workflows that really drive efficiencies for the analysts and the engineers. So some of the key focus areas for us, especially in the use of generative AI in the very near future, first is data onboarding. This is that repetitive task that engineers are doing all of the time. We want to look at how do we leverage generative AI to create new parsers and also validate the field extractions of those parsers. We want to look at natural language processing. How do we take advantage of all of these advanced search functionality but make it really approachable for anyone in the SOC? Right? I know when I was working in a SOC, the CISO would tap me on the shoulder and be like, hey, I need answers to these 15 questions. I'd be sitting there writing queries all day. How can we empower the CISO to ask those questions himself and get those answers back? And then last is this threat analysis. Generative AI to explain the ability for Exabeam to stitch all of these detections together across correlation, anomalies, and third-party alerts into something an analyst can understand within a matter of seconds. So with that, let's pivot over to our last demo here, and I'll demo our generative AI threat explainer. So we're back in Alert and Case Manager here. I have a couple of quick notables up at the top. I'm going to go ahead and open up my first one. This is for a user, Bihana. There's a number of things we're already doing today to help customers understand what's going on. I think this is one of the things that when I first became an Exabeam customer and started selling it, customers were much more used to very binary detections. If this happens, I go do X, Y, and Z. But when you can dynamically stitch all of these detections together, it becomes a little bit more difficult to understand what I'm looking at. How do I classify this and what do I do next? So we've done a good job of labeling all of our detections with things like MITRE and Exabeam's use cases to help customers better understand what they're looking at. But here I can see in this particular threat timeline, I have an abnormal number of incoming emails. I have an abnormal number of HTTP requests, all the way down to I can see first user creation on an endpoint and for the user. So if I'm a net new analyst, I might want to know what is it that I'm really looking at? Can I get a classification of what this might be? And what should I do next about it? So I can now open up our handy AI analyzer. And Exabeam is taking all of the details of that threat timeline and it's passing it across to Google's SecPalm large language model, and it's giving me this response, right? It's giving me an overview that this looks like the user created a new account on an endpoint. They also accessed a suspicious file. They've even used a known malware attacker tool, Mimikatz, and they may be trying to exfiltrate data via the web or email. It classifies it. This user might be attempting to use data or steal data or credentials. And it gives me some basic next steps. I can even ask more questions. Like I can say, what is the most critical detection in this incident and why? Go ahead and send that off. It's going to go ahead and analyze this again. And it should come back and it should say, you know what? The most important thing that is happening in here is that the fact that the user is using Mimikatz, a known attacker tool to potentially dump credentials. Right? So this is going to help analysts really get their mind wrapped around, especially when you have 10s, 20s, maybe even sometimes 100 detections in a single threat timeline. Let's take a look at another quick example. I'm going to go ahead and go back. We can also look at this particular example where we're going to see things like first activity from a country. We have an APT activity with a suspicious.lnk file. Again, open up my AI analyzer, we pass all of this through, and we're going to get that, again, what is my overview, possible threats, and next steps. So this is our first version of what we're building in terms of AI capabilities within Exabeam, this kind of co-pilot experience. How do I help analysts get their hands wrapped around threats, and what do they do about it next? Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be training these LLMs with our own data and integrating this within our automation service. So not only is it going to tell you what you could do next, it's going to give you those links to take those actions right away. So as you can see, we have a lot of great stuff coming as it relates to TDIR, but also the entire platform. And all of these features together are going to continue to empower our customers to detect, defend, and defeat attackers. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Enjoy the rest of Spotlight.